Have you ever felt like someone in your life was quietly eroding your sense of self? Not with cruelty, not even with obvious harm, but with a kind of spiritual weight that you couldn't name. You keep them around because they don't seem bad, but deep down, something inside you contracts every time you're near them. Something inside you whispers that your soul is not safe here. Alan Watts once said, trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. And yet, we keep trying to define ourselves through the people we surround ourselves with. We think who we are is a reflection of who we're loyal to. But what if that loyalty is keeping you from ever touching your real nature? What if the people you refuse to let go of are the very ones blocking your path to awakening? In this video, we're going to explore 6 dangerous souls that you must let go of, not because they are evil or toxic in some obvious way, but because they distort your inner clarity, your freedom, and your ability to live authentically. And we're not just talking about the versions of these dangerous souls that live inside you, because every external figure is also a mirror. And the most difficult souls to release are often the ones we've internalized as our own identity. Let's start with the first one, the soul of the perpetual victim. This is the person who has built their entire reality around suffering. Pain is not something they move through, it's their home. They collect grievances like souvenirs. And here's the catch: they don't want to heal. They want you to witness their suffering forever. You become their audience, their emotional caretaker. And while compassion is a virtue, endless enabling is not. Watts reminds us, you don't look out there for God, something in the sky. You look in. But if you are constantly pulled into someone else's emotional vortex, you never get the silence needed to look in. The victim's soul will tether your growth to their wound. And over time, you will start to shrink, not because you're unkind, but because you've mistaken empathy for self-erasure. Now ask yourself, who in your life demands your constant energy but never transforms? And more importantly, why are you still giving it? Is it out of guilt? Out of the fear that if you leave, you'll become the villain in their story? But whose story are you living in, theirs or yours? The second dangerous soul is the manipulator of meaning. This is the person who cloaks themselves in spiritual language, philosophical insights, or intellectual superiority, but uses it to dominate, not liberate. You'll know them because every time you raise a concern, they respond with something like, well, that's just your ego talking, or you need to transcend that. They use the language of awakening to shut you down. And it works because it sounds wise, but it's not wisdom. It's spiritual gaslighting. Watts warned us about this too, about mistaking the menu for the meal. These souls obsess over the language of insight, without ever being the insight. They are dangerous because they make you question your intuition. They make you doubt your instinct to walk away. And that's the most sacred thing you own, your ability to know without needing to explain that something is wrong. Letting go of this soul means reclaiming your inner authority. It means realizing that no one, no matter how enlightened they sound, can speak for your truth. The third dangerous soul is the energy vampire. They often don't mean to be what they are. They're not malicious, but they are ungrounded. They are chaotic, and they feed off your stability. You become their emotional anchor, but at a cost. These people are always in crisis, always needing, always pulling. And because you're kind, you keep showing up. But Watts said, muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. The energy vampire keeps your waters stirred, your mind buzzing, your nervous system on high alert. You never get to return to stillness. And that stillness is where all real insight lies. Letting go of the vampire doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop leaking. Because if your energy is a flame, you cannot spend your life relighting other people's candles while yours burns out. You cannot be the light for others if you are constantly dimmed by their chaos. The fourth dangerous soul is the mirror of your addiction. This is the person who keeps you attached to a version of yourself you're trying to outgrow. Maybe it's the friend from your party days, the one who always pulls you back into drama, gossip, or avoidance. Maybe it's a lover who brings out your most compulsive, needy, or performative self. You feel a strange familiarity with them, a magnetic pull that's hard to explain. But that pull is not love, it's recognition of your old wounds. Watts spoke often about the illusion of separateness, how what we call me is just a dance of patterns. The mirror soul keeps you dancing the same step, keeps you locked in the identity you're trying to dissolve. And here's the haunting truth. You will never evolve if you keep surrounding yourself with reminders of who you used to be. So ask yourself, who in your life only knows the outdated version of you? And what would happen if you stopped performing that version for their comfort? The fifth dangerous soul is the subtle saboteur. Unlike the vampire or the manipulator, this soul appears supportive. They cheer you on publicly, but privately, they undermine your growth. They plant seeds of doubt. They make backhanded compliments. They say things like, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" Or "Be careful not to get ahead of yourself." Their words are soft, but their energy is sharp. They are uncomfortable with your expansion because your evolution threatens their comfort. And so, they keep you small with kindness. That's what makes it so hard to see. But Watts reminds us, a person who thinks all the time has nothing to think about except thoughts, so he loses touch with reality. The saboteur is all thought, no presence, all projection, no connection. Letting go of this soul doesn't mean you reject feedback. It means you get discerning. You start asking, is this person rooting for the real me, or for the version of me that stays beneath them? And if it's the latter, you already know what to do. Finally, the sixth dangerous soul is the inner tyrant. This one isn't out there. It's inside you. It's the voice that says you're not allowed to rest, that you have to earn your worth, that love is conditional and joy must be justified. It's the harsh internal critic that was likely formed by early wounds, societal pressure, or inherited beliefs. But now, it's you. It lives inside your choices, your habits, your silences. It sounds like discipline, but it's actually self-abandonment. Watts would tell us, the meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet, everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. The tyrant keeps you in that panic, keeps you grinding, proving, comparing, keeps you from ever feeling the alreadiness of your being. Letting go of this soul is perhaps the most difficult, because it requires not just a shift in behavior, but a shift in identity. It means becoming someone who believes that joy doesn't need to be earned. That peace is not a reward, it's a birthright. Letting go is often misunderstood. People think it's an act of severance, of cutting off. But the deeper truth is that letting go is not about rejection, it's about recognition. You recognize that the energy no longer matches. You recognize that your soul is outgrowing a pattern, and in that moment of clarity, you don't have to act with anger or resistance. You simply stop holding on. As Alan Watts once put it, the more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless. Holding on to the wrong souls out of obligation or fear is like clinging to a dead branch. It doesn't keep you afloat, it drags you under. The art of goodbye is the art of breathing again. But goodbye is not just to people, it's to the roles we play with them. You might let go of the victim soul, but are you ready to let go of the fixer you became in their presence? You might release the inner tyrant, but are you willing to stop performing excellence just to feel safe? This is the part that hurts the most, not the letting go of others, but the letting go of who we thought we had to be when we were with them. And yet, that's exactly where the sacred yes begins. Because every time you say no to an archetype that's been draining your spirit, you say yes to a version of yourself that's been waiting in silence, holding its breath, hoping you'd remember it. The sacred yes is not loud. It's not performative. It's not about chasing or proving or convincing. It's quiet clarity. It's the yes that arises when your life finally has space. Space to pause. Space to pause. Space to be. Watts often reminded us that trying to control the world is like trying to grab water. The more tightly you squeeze, the less you hold. When you let go of these dangerous souls, you stop squeezing. You stop trying to fix, carry, or control what was never yours to hold. And suddenly, the water flows again. Life begins to move with ease. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped forcing yourself. This is why letting go must be done in reverence, not revenge. You don't need to ghost, explode, or vilify. True release doesn't require drama. It requires presence. You can thank these souls for what they taught you. You can acknowledge the role they played in your awakening. And then you can walk away, not in bitterness, but in truth. Because the goodbye isn't really about them. It's about you choosing a different rhythm, a different alignment, a different way of being that doesn't require distortion to be loved. So let me ask you this. What would your life look like if you stopped holding on to what no longer matched your energy? What would unfold if you stopped chasing clarity in chaos and instead made space for the sacred yes to rise on its own? The people we let go of are not always wrong. They're just no longer right for the chapter your soul is trying to write. And when you honor that fully, unapologetically, you don't just lose something. You gain something infinitely deeper, the freedom to be who you really are. Becoming fully yourself sounds like a beautiful idea until you actually begin doing it. Because the moment you stop conforming, stop apologizing, stop editing yourself for others' comfort, you become something rare, unpredictable. And unpredictable people are dangerous to systems. Not because they're reckless, but because they're free. Alan Watts often warned us about the trap of conformity disguised as security, saying, "We seldom realize, for example, that our most private thoughts and emotions are not actually our own. For we think in terms of languages and images which we did not invent, but which were given to us by our society. So when you begin to shed not just people, but the social programs that shaped you, you don't just lose approval, you lose belonging. And that's terrifying. But that fear is exactly what holds most of us hostage. We stay entangled with dangerous souls not because we don't know better, but because we are afraid of what their absence might reveal. The terrifying silence of self. The question becomes, who am I when I am not performing, pleasing, or proving? And the answer is not immediate. It's not even comfortable. It emerges slowly, like a fog lifting. And in that space, you start hearing something ancient and quiet, a voice that doesn't shout, but knows. That voice is your sacred self, the one that existed before the world told you who to be. To reach that self, we must risk exile. Not literal exile, but emotional exile. The kind that comes when you no longer play your part in the social theater. You become the one who says no when others expect yes. The one who leaves the party early or doesn't go at all. The one who doesn't laugh at the joke that carries hidden cruelty. The one who says, "This doesn't feel right," even when everyone else is nodding. And at first, it's lonely. Because you're not just walking away from people, you're walking away from patterns. And patterns are comfortable, even when they're painful. But here's where the divine part enters. When you begin to embody your full self, something extraordinary happens. Your life starts to attract matches instead of tests. You no longer need to prove your worth to those who can't see it. You no longer need to shrink to be safe. You begin to enter what Watts might call the flow, not a passive surrender, but a return to the natural movement of the universe. You stop resisting yourself. You stop negotiating your intuition. You begin to live from presence, not performance. And in doing so, you become a mirror for others, not a mirror that reflects their expectations, but one that reflects their truth. And that too is dangerous, because not everyone wants to see who they really are. So now we arrive at the real paradox. In letting go of the 6 dangerous souls, you become the most dangerous soul of all, not to others, but to illusion. You threaten the structures that keep people asleep. Your presence becomes a kind of spiritual earthquake, not because you preach or dominate or convert, but because you simply are. You walk into a room and people feel it. They can't name it, but they sense it. That's the power of someone who has let go of what no longer serves them. That's the energy of someone not owned by fear, not driven by status, not manipulated by shame. So I'll leave you with this final question. What would it cost you to become fully yourself? And what would it cost you not to? The 6 souls you must let go of are not just external characters, they are invitations. They come into your life not to punish you, but to wake you up, to show you the places where you are still asleep. And when you finally say goodbye, not in anger, but in truth, you say hello to the most sacred, terrifying, and utterly divine thing you've ever known: yourself.